'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through my home I could hear Tara whining about the lack of a poem. So though tired and cold, and a little hungover, I dug out a pen and regained my composure. All the holiday trappings and trimmings were done. I had lights up and baubles to emulate fun. A white Christmas was here, as snow covered the ground. The world outside was silent, with no one around. But I knew it was still much too early to rest, for this night was the night I'd be hosting a guest. Every home with a child, or a child at heart, gets an annual visitor with gifts to impart. So I curled up in a blanket and tried to stay warm, and read all the news about a wintry storm. I hoped that our visitor wouldn't let winter and icy conditions his travels to hinder, so there in my blanket I started to doze, as a jolly old elf braved the cold and the snows, and just as I started to drift off and snooze, I heard there behind me the creak of his shoes. I leapt to my feet, and I spun right around, and there by my tree, barely making a sound, was a jolly old man in a suit made of red, with a bright furry cap on the top of his head. He gave me a wink and a mischievous grin, and brushed off some snow from the beard on his chin. I spoke not a word, but snapped straight to my task, and poured him a drink from a small metal flask. He took it with thanks and sat down in a chair, then sipped with his eyes closed like saying a prayer. "Happy Christmas," he said, breaking silence at last. "It seems hard to believe that a whole year has passed. Seems like it was barely the blink of an eye." Leaning back in his chair, he then heaved a great sigh. "When you're ancient like I, they all seem to go faster. You'd think that by now that it's something I'd master." I pulled over a chair and then sat down myself, and offered a toast to the jolly old elf. A brilliant smile promptly lit up his face, and then, in that moment, there was scarcely a trace of the hundreds of years that this old man had seen. Every high, every low, every somewhere between. And I thought, in that moment, the magical thing wasn't all of the gifts that he managed to bring, nor the years that he lived, nor the speed he could fly, nor the fact that he moved in the blink of an eye. It was how, despite all that he'd witnessed for years, through events that for many might bring them to tears, he could watch from his vantage point far in the north, seeing all of mankind as we moved back and forth through our chaos and hatred and petty disputes, our greed and our malice, our old men in suits causing mayhem and war. He could see all of that and brush it all off like the snow from his hat, and see through all of that to humanity's soul from a unique perspective off at the North Pole, and realize that kindness was still quite alive, that love and forgiveness would still always thrive, that down at our cores, despite what it might seem, through all of the darkness a light still will gleam. He smiled then, and showed he knew what I was thinking, as we sat there together, just silently drinking. "It's something," he said, "that is not understood. The world still remains fundamentally good. Those small acts of kindness that often are missed, every tear wiped away, every lip that is kissed, every parent that wakes up to comfort a child whose dreams brought them tears when they proved far too wild, every smile that comes when we cuddle a pet, means that all of us, everywhere, still don't forget. We're all in this together. We're part of a team, and each moment of love is enough to redeem. For every year, at the end of December, we all come together and seem to remember that all of us, everywhere, all still have ties to each other in spite of our anger or lies. We'll look past all our weaknesses just to forgive. We choose not to hold grudges. We choose then to give gifts of love, gifts of time, gifts of moments we share. We choose to show feelings. We choose then to care. And as Santa arose to continue his quest, I knew that it wasn't quite time yet to rest. So please then accept this, my holiday missive, like a Christmassy treat, like the hug or the kiss of a loved one who's missed you after time spent apart. Please know that you're all of you here in my heart. And I wish you then, all of you, far from my sight, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.